As you may be aware, we had a couple of events recently in the Star Wars realm that are kind of big deals. One of them is May the 4th, which is, well, not the biggest deal, but, once a year we get products announced on Star Wars Day. But also we had Star Wars Celebration Japan in Tokyo, where they also announced some things and released some exclusive products and things like that. So I thought we'd, first of all, take a look at a few of the things that have been announced with regard to Jabba, and then kind of separate from that, also show off a few things that I've added to my own collection. Without a doubt, the biggest surprise for me personally was from Sideshow Collectibles. They've already had a few so-called Scum and Villainy characters that are basically centered around the Cantina, as you can see here, these guys like Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba. But they just announced 7 Scum and Villainy characters from Jabba's palace. And, I used to collect Sideshow figures fairly frequently. I had quite a number of them back when they were quite cheap to collect, like the original Bib Fortuna. But there came a point where they just kind of got too expensive for me, and I decided to tap out for the most part. But I have been collecting a few things, like I do have the Jabba that you see here, which I've made a whole review about, and we're going to talk about a little bit in this video as well. So yeah, these are 7 new 1/6 scale figures, which is not going to be cheap, I'm sure. Interesting is the characters that they've decided to go with. Most of them are skiff guards and not from the palace, and they're also not really the most well-known characters. So, for example, instead of doing an Ula or a Leia or even the Rancor Keeper, for example, we're getting quite minor characters that I think many people might be challenged to remember the names of. And in addition to those, they're also re-releasing the Jabba the Hutt 1/6 scale figure that I reviewed a while back, and it appears to be exactly the same as it used to be, which is fine with me. I don't want to have to buy another one of those. Just to refresh your memory, I believe he was released in 2019, and they sold him basically for 4 years until 2023 before taking him off the market, discontinuing him, and basically they're just bringing him back at a higher price. But it's good that he's available again. So I think we need to address the matter of price. The new Jabba, same as the old Jabba figure, is currently available for pre-order at $1,025, which is, a fair chunk of change, especially when you consider that when I bought it in 2019, it was $795, and they continued to sell him all the way at least until February of 2023, at least according to the Wayback Machine, which I'm getting these pictures from. It was only $849. So in the space of basically a couple of years, it's gone up about $200, which is, considerable. Now, of course, I already have the Jabba, so I won't be buying that, but I might be interested in these guys. These, of course, are the additions to the Scum and Villainy series, in addition to these Cantina ones that they already had. They're adding 7 new characters. And, if we look at the pricing of the other characters that they already released, they range from $270 to $280. So there's not a lot of variation there. So I think we can pretty much say with certainty that these are going to cost essentially $275 a piece, or $1,925 plus tax if you were to buy them all. The other thing to consider is, of course, the tariff situation, which is kind of ever-changing and fluid. They did post something fairly recently to their website about how they're going to handle these tariffs, and it sounds actually fairly reasonable. They're basically saying that it's probably going to be about a 6% fee, but you can always cancel your pre-order if you desire, and if things change. But still, it's going to be even more on top of those already high prices. So what are my thoughts about these? I'm excited that they're bringing out these relatively minor characters. Honestly, I didn't think they would ever come out with this kind of character, and now they're doing them all sort of at once, which is interesting. It will be, for me certainly, and I think for most people, kind of a burden to try and get them all at once. I'm not sure if they're going to be staggering their releases at all. At this point, we don't have firm information about their price or release dates. But they do look really good. They look like they've done a really good job making these figures, and I can't really complain about that. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily be able to afford to buy them all, but I will definitely at least pick up Bib Fortuna and probably Tessic, for my throne room display. The other guys are a little bit harder to fit in since they're more skiff-centric. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about these. Are you going to be picking up any of these characters for your own collections? The other announcement that caught my eye on Star Wars Day was from Beeline Creative. They make Geeki Tikis. I've made a number of videos about their stuff in the past, and I have, I think, all of the Jabba-related ones in my collection. As you can see here, they announced a Sarlacc Pit Punch Bowl, which does sound pretty intriguing. It seems to be decorated with 3 characters around the rim. It looks like we've got Lando, Boba Fett, and one other person. I'm not entirely sure who it is, as well as the sail barge and probably some skiffs on other sides. And then you've got the Sarlacc itself there. They haven't announced exactly when this is going to be coming out or in what form, like if it's going to be an exclusive or anything like that. They also haven't said how much it's going to cost, which is a little bit scary. But anyway, I may have to pick one of these up. And that's basically it in terms of things that were announced. I'd be interested to know if you know of anything that I omitted here.
So next I'd like to talk about a few things that I did add to my collection recently. There hasn't been a lot, just because there hasn't been that much stuff released. I pretty much have all the other stuff that, has already been released. So it's a little slow for a Jabba collector right now, but there have been a few things that I've gotten, including a couple things from Star Wars Celebration Japan, which we're going to talk about right now. So first of which is this one right here. This is a Figpin of Jabba on his throne with Ula and Salacious Crumb. And I haven't really collected any Figpins in the past, but they're essentially a combination of a figure and a pin in some sense. They're quite large pins. So with this one, you can see it is gigantic. I guess you can tell if I pick it up like that it's a good, 6-7 inches wide and 6 inches tall, maybe, I don't know, 5 inches. It is quite large. It comes with this cool stand and some little attachments, plastic rods that you can use to attach to the back of the pin, and that way you can display it as an art piece, which I really do appreciate. A lot of these pins, I mean, let's face it, we're not going to be wearing most of these pins. At most, maybe someone would wear a pin like this once or twice to like a convention or something like that, but on the everyday, you're not going to be wearing this pin, so it would be nice to be able to display it easily and enjoy it just in your collection, and that's what they've done with these stands. So pretty cool. They also included a Figpin pin, just with their Figpin logo. It says, "Collect Awesome." This, as I say, was a Celebration Japan exclusive. A little hard to get without paying a lot of money on the secondary market, but I did get a fellow Jabba fan and Max Rebo fan, Stax Rebo from Instagram. She went to Celebration Japan, which unfortunately I could not go to, but she very kindly offered to pick one of these up for me, so I took her up on that. But yeah, really cool. This has got to be one of my favorite pins in my collection. Just very impressive in terms of the artwork and just everything, the presentation, even the box, which I have right here. I don't know, you can tell. Let me move these back a little bit. If we tilt it, you can see it's got a subtle design of the artwork there. And if we open it up as well, underneath, it's got kind of a card with the artwork on it and so forth. So I think I was pretty impressed with how fancy this is. Now, I also, speaking of Celebration Japan, was able to get this, which is, let's see if I can get it to show up. There we go. So this is a pin also from Star Wars Celebration Japan. This is one of the large selection of official pins that they were releasing for Celebration. They were all done by the artist Jerrod Maruyama, and you've got Jabba, quite a large version of him compared to the other pins that they made, and then Salacious Crumb here as well. Pretty cool version, although it doesn't quite stand up to the other one I just showed you, if I'm honest. One other thing I wanted to introduce was this game called Star Wars Rivals. Now, I'd never heard of this before, but this is actually Series 2. There was a Series 1 released a couple years ago, I guess. It's by Funko, and it's essentially it's a tabletop game where you get little figures of Star Wars characters, and you have cards and dice and things. Honestly, I don't have much interest in playing the game, but I was pretty interested in the figures themselves because they looked really cool. You get also these were I should say these were on sale 50% off when I discovered them, so I was like, okay, I'll get a few of these. This premiere set has basically all the rules plus 4 characters, but you can get character booster packs in either light side or dark side varieties, and they are blind boxed with different characters in them. Now, it says here, yeah, you can see on the side, if it'll focus, how many different characters there are, and then there's apparently holographic versions. I don't know if all of them or if it's just some of them, but yeah, there's hologram variants. You know how they love to make different variants of these things that we can collect, but yeah, there's quite a few light side and dark side characters, including, and I think you probably know where I'm going with this, including a Jabba. So let's take a look at him. He is actually really well sculpted. I think this is a very nice little figure, and it's, you know, it's, for its size, which is not that big, it feels kind of substantial. Now, each of these characters, comes with a selection of cards that are just for them. So you've got, like, here's Jabba's cards. It says Scoundrel. It's got his unique artwork on it, and in fact, each of these one also has unique artwork, and these are like kind of like powers that you can play, as I understand it. And then they also have some locations, Jabba's Palace, the Great Pit of Carcoon, and so forth, that you can use somehow in the game. Not really sure. I also managed to get Bib Fortuna. There he is. Also really a nice sculpt, I think. These are well done. Unfortunately, as I said, they're blind boxed, and Jabba here is a rare one, and so, you know, you have to basically luck out when you're opening these boxes or pay a premium on eBay. I ended up, I don't remember the exact amount, but I've seen him go for as much as $40-some. I paid, I think it was about $25 plus shipping, something like that. Too much for this little figure, probably, but, you know, I had to get him. In addition to the pins from Star Wars Celebration Japan, I also got some from Disney Parks recently. This one is a series, or part of a series, of pins with, like, 3 of various aliens. It's kind of an interesting idea, kind of a crowd pin, I think they were called. But anyway, it's got 3 huts on it, and I assume this one is Jabba. The one on the right reminds me of one of the Hutt twins in terms of the little marking on the chin. It also reminds me of the Bunta Eve scene, the pod race scene from Phantom Menace, so I'm not sure if that's what they were going for or not. But anyway, it's pretty cool. They also made one of these with Gamorrean guards that I may have to get. And they also made this, which is a kind of in-universe poster for the Max Rebo Band. It says, "Rockin' daily at Jabba's Palace," there at the bottom. And it's kind of cool because it's got a dual layer effect. Here we have Jabba and Sice Noodles there in the background with Max and Droopy in the foreground. Yeah, pretty cool. One other thing I got, which is only kind of tangentially related to Jabba in the sense that he kind of looks like Max Rebo, but he's not really the same kind of alien as Max Rebo, is this Neel figure. Now, of course, this was from Skeleton Crew, and I think, honestly, Neel, as a character, was the highlight of that show for me. I didn't love all of the other characters. I mean, I didn't hate them or anything, but I didn't quite connect with them as well as I did with Neel here. And he's adorable, of course, just in terms of his design. He came with, this is the Black Series, 6-inch Neel, of course. Comes with his backpack and other accessories. And this took me, I had an order in on Amazon for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it just never got fulfilled, and finally they said that they couldn't fulfill it. So I ended up having to bite the bullet and go to Hasbro Pulse and just buy it directly. And one other thing I got, speaking of Neel, was this figure. This is from Has No Talent, who I've talked about a few times in the past on the channel before. He makes his own figures. This one is kind of special, though, because this is a tribute figure, in some sense, to the actor who played Neel on the show. His name is Robert Timothy Smith. And if you go ahead and take off the head, you can see he's actually got his head underneath there, which I think is really cool. I mean, I'd like to see more of this kind of thing. I've, of course, done similar things, I guess you could say, with my Jabba, 3D printed Jabba that had the actual puppeteers inside it. But yeah, I really do like paying tribute to the actors inside this kind of prosthetic. But anyway, got this from him on Instagram. I did have one problem. He came with a little blastery type of thing. I'm not even sure what that was. And I tried to put it in his hand, wouldn't stay in. I tried to force it to go in a different way, and I broke his thumb off, which was dumb on my part. I should have realized this is kind of plastic, or I'm not even sure what these are, if these are 3D printed or if they're plastic, from the factory. But they're not the same kind of plastic that, say, these ones from Hasbro are. They don't have the elasticity, the rubberiness that would allow him to grab something like that. So my fault, but I was able to super glue it back on. So not a huge deal. Anyway, just thought I would show these off as well. Now on these pickup videos, sometimes I like to include things that are not really related to Jabba or even to Star Wars. Just, I don't know, it's kind of fun to put a little bit of a wild card in there. And this time I decided to include a soft vinyl figure, a Sofubi figure. If you've been watching for a while, you know that I'm kind of borderline obsessed with Sofubi at this point, and I have a whole separate Instagram account that I use just for Sofubi figures and things like that. So I also have been painting them. So I'm kind of deep into the world of Japanese soft vinyl. I say Japanese; they kind of started it in Japan. This guy right here, though, is actually from China. This is from Boda Studio, and as I say, they're a Chinese creator. This is, in Chinese, his name is Deng Hualong. I don't know what I did study Chinese for a little while in grad school, but I don't have the tones right. But anyway, it means essentially like lantern dragon, is my understanding. And he seems to be essentially a little robot that looks like a dragon of sorts. And I just think it's really cool because compared to the average soft vinyl figure, he's very intricate. He has, like, if you look at his stomach, a lot of detail and lots of layers of detail, which is pretty unusual. He's got quite a few pieces, not a lot of articulation really, although with a couple of exceptions, which we're going to look at in a second, but just really cool sculpting. He's got, in a couple places, like this is clear vinyl with sort of, I guess they're supposed to be light bulbs inside, but there's clear vinyl under clear vinyl with another kind of thing underneath. It's just the multi-layered aspect of this is really interesting, and also the multi texture, I guess, because you got really rough texture right here, which of course you can't quite tell, but if you touch it, you can really tell the difference compared to the smoothness right next to it. Very cool stuff. But the coolest thing, in my opinion, is his face right here, which is made in such a way that you can move his eyes on kind of a ball joint. You can make him look around, but you can also adjust this thing to move his eyelids and give him different expressions. So like right now, let's see, we'll give him an angry expression. I don't know if you can see that. A little bit of reflection. Or you can turn them again and make him kind of like, I don't know, silly looking, or pathetic looking. I just thought it was a really cool design. And yeah, I will put a link to my Instagram for soft vinyl figures in the video description, as well as to Boda Studios. Now, they don't, if you know anything about the world of Sofubi, you can't just buy these. You have to kind of wait for them to release them. I don't know if they're ever going to release this exact colorway again. I forgot one aspect of this, by the way, is that this is not painted. It's just in marbled vinyl, which is kind of a combination of dark gray or navy with a kind of yellowish or greenish glow in the dark. So if I turn off the lights here, you can see that he glows in the dark relatively strongly. I mean, at least to the naked eye, I can definitely see it. Of course, he's been under my studio lights for a while, but it's a pretty cool effect. Anyway, you can't just buy these, but if you follow him on like Instagram, he'll periodically say that he's releasing something, and you can buy them there. Or if you do happen to live in Asia in particular, they do sell them at various kind of conventions and things like that. They're not cheap. This one's probably similar to one of those Sideshow figures in terms of cost, but I was really pleased when I received this one. And finally, speaking of things that are not related to Star Wars or Jabba at all, but are still pretty cool, I have this Ganesha figure that I recently got. This is made by the Four Horsemen, who you may be familiar with. They do amazing sculpts, and they have a whole line or multiple lines of action figures and fantasy and sci-fi characters that are totally unique. They're their own characters, which I think is really cool. And honestly, I've kind of avoided buying stuff from them because I knew it could be a real rabbit hole I didn't want to go down because they are really cool stuff. But anyway, this is part of their Figura Obscura line, and it was a website exclusive, and it's still available now, actually. It comes with a really cool box with this magnetic cover, and I've already taken it out, of course, but you can see a lot of care went into making this for sure. And here is the figure itself. Let's see if I can get him to stand up properly. It is honestly a little bit of a trial to pose some of these figures, but they're very intricate. It's amazing the amount of detail in the sculpt and in the paint. I just can't get over what they've done here. I mean, this is like a $70 figure, not really that expensive, all things considered. He comes with a chair. He comes with various alternate hands and things. I've just kind of replicated what they had on the box, basically. He's got clothing. He's got all these various accoutrements, various kinds of jewelry and necklaces that you can put on yourself. He comes with separate, bracelets and things. He's got this thing in the back. It's kind of an aura, I guess, that you attach to his back. Really amazing. I mean, I'm blown away by this figure. He also comes with stuff that I have in this bag, which is a bunch of fruit. Here, I'll take it out. I don't really know how you're supposed to pose some of this stuff, but he does come with, some grapes, alternate hands, some bananas, apples, other jewelry and so forth, and a rat. Apparently, Ganesh is often pictured riding a rat or with a rat, so they included that. And he also has a separate posable trunk. The one that he's using right now is just kind of in one position, but you can move that in different positions because of a wire that he's got inside of it. But just really blew me away. And yeah, as I say, still available right now if you're interested. That's about it for today. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.